Hello, I am Juan Restrepo from the church, and you are very welcome back to Christ Church.
The gentle pull of God is often lost amidst the rush of all the obligations that lay a claim on us. Yet just beyond our frantic pace, our restless feet have trod, lie deep still pools of quietness, the dwelling place of God. Meet me in the stillness, Lord. Be the air I breathe. Meet me in the stillness, Lord. Free me to receive. Oh, take me to that sacred place where lost in wonder and in awe, that moment comes and I rejoice to be and be with God. Meet me in the stillness, Lord. Be the
I miss seeing you guys so much. I'm so glad that you're all here. I'm sorry for what brings us together. And I guess in one way, we shouldn't be surprised that it would be death that would first bring the community out to speak. It was shocking that Juan died in one sense. If you see the bulletin that we put together, the picture that's on the inside was literally taken the day or two before he died. But we'd asked him if he would do the welcome that week for our worship online, and he graciously did it, came out of the front and threw his arms open and welcomed everybody back to Christ Church. It was such a Juan sort of moment. And I think all of us have those memories of him and the way that he was so warm and able to greet us. And that's really what we want to share together tonight. We've had a time of prayer and for Juan, the family, and kind of the, so to speak, the prayers in the funeral. This is a different occasion. We're just inviting you to come up and speak about a story you might have, the Juan, that was particularly moving to you. When he died, immediately we were over with Rocio and Danny, who are here tonight on the front row, just sharing stories. And we realized that this is really, I think, what the family needs to hear and receive, to be reminded from all of us just how many people he affected and the ways that he affected us. And he was just a good man. And all of us have those memories of him. And if we repeat ourselves a little bit tonight, that's okay. It's one of those times, but it's okay. So I just wanted to let you know, in just a moment, I'm going to have a song, and then after that, we're just going to open the mic, and people just come up and speak as you are so moved. And so that's the whole drill. Julie is going to close us in prayer. We do have water available over here if you need one. So just grab one out of the, there we go. Thanks for that. Why don't we gather together in a moment of prayer. Our gracious God, we invoke your Spirit in this place. Be amongst us. Draw our hearts together that we might offer one another the support and consolation that you would have us to know. In the midst of death, bring us your life-giving love. Surround us with comfort and strength, and fill us with joy about the celebration of Juan's life. Be with his family, bless them, keep them in a difficult time. And may all those who join with us, wherever they are, around the country and almost around the world as well, bind our hearts together, for you would have us to be one. We pray these things in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Lord, listen to your children pray. Lord, send your Spirit in this place. Lord, listen to your children pray. Send us love, send us power, send us grace. Lord, listen to your children pray. Lord, send your Spirit in this place. Lord, listen to your children pray. Send us love, send us power, send us grace. Send us love, send us power, send us grace.
I keep it short, but I have 3 words that describes Juan. Very friendly, always willing to help, and boundless energy. And that equals a perfect sexton. Thank you, Juan. We miss you.
Everyone, Daryl Lubin here. I worked with Juan in 3 capacities over the last several years. I was deacon, so involved communion. I was an usher, so that involved setting up chairs for special occasions, especially like today. But certainly when we had holidays and a lot of people came to church. And I also worked with him for special needs groups, where we would have Sunday services for them, and the special needs people would come in, and Juan would help us set everything up. So I echo what was just said. He had boundless energy. He had a work ethic that I could only hope my boys would have half of when they become adults. And he never said no to anything. And whenever I got nervous, whether it was being usher or thinking we wouldn't have enough chairs, or I needed a knife, or I couldn't the people were coming for the service, for the special needs service, and I was nervous I wouldn't have things set up. Juan always had confidence, and he would run off and get whatever we needed and come back, and magically everything would happen and would all come together thanks to Juan. So I feel like he's part of the walls of this church, part of the tapestry of this church, and I can't imagine coming here after COVID and not seeing him. So I'm so very, very sorry.
My name is Dan Ocone. For many years I've been involved with organizing the Christ Church donation to the Peace Works Nicaragua shipments. And Marilyn and Maurice Devois have been helping me do that, so we've done it along together. Marilyn and Maurice could not be here tonight, but Marilyn sent in a little story to me and asked me to read it. And I'm going to do that, and it says about everything that I would like to say anyway about Juan, and she says it better. So it's a little story. It's going to take a while to develop, but we'll get to a nice ending. So Juan was involved in every aspect of the life of Christ Church, and that included the gathering and storing of donated goods for the Nicaragua container shipments. At first, he hadn't wanted anyone storing donations in the basement. He was a tidy person, and he didn't want any disorder down there. Gradually, however, he warmed to the idea, and he seemed to have a clear understanding of the people in Nicaragua who would be receiving the donated goods, their poverty, their human warmth. Of his own accord, Juan began to clean and dust the storage room before the start of each of our donation periods. He became the watchman of that room, weeding out the non-donations that occasionally found their way inside. About 2 years ago, the small outside door that led to the church basement began to fall apart. It's this door at the bottom of the stone steps outside Lyle Hall. It's rarely used except by the shipment volunteers when they haul donations up from the basement onto the driveway and into the back of a truck. The outside basement door was ancient and warped. In wet weather, the wood swelled so much that the only way to open or close the door was to give it a tremendous shove. One time, in desperation, this is Marilyn speaking, not me, I didn't do this, gave it a solid kick, and the bottom third of the door collapsed into a mass of splinters. Alarmed, I called Juan on the phone. Juan, I said, I broke the outside basement door. To my relief, Juan was reassuring. Don't worry, he said, that door is a mess. It needs to be replaced. Juan somehow patched the broken spot and then consulted the church property managers about replacing the door. The news was not good. A replacement door would be costly. $3,000, $5,000, I forget. In any case, that money was not in the church budget. However, for months, Juan kept thinking about how to deal with that outside basement door. He considered everything: engineering, material, hardware, tools. Eventually, he made a few purchases at Home Depot and quietly got to work. One day last fall, as I was heading down to the Nicaragua storage room with some donations, I encountered Juan painting the door, and he said, "Don't touch it for 24 hours. Let the paint dry." A few days later, I went to the door. I approached it cautiously, assuming Juan had merely painted over its defects. But to my amazement, the door seemed brand new. It was heavy and solid, perfectly balanced in its frame. The hinges swung quietly and easily. The latch opened and closed with a velvet click. The surface gleamed with a fresh paint. Suddenly, Juan appeared. "Juan," I said, "you got us a new door after all." Beaming with pride, Juan corrected me. "I did not get a new door," he said. "I rebuilt the old door." And he told me all the details. Juan often did that. He would tell you all the details. I've often been on the receiving end. After many months of thought, he had taken the old door and clad it in a type of embossed steel sheet metal that typically covers falafel and hot dog trucks. Then he built a new steel door frame, installed heavy-duty hinges, and a smooth new lock, polished up the old brass panic bar, and put it back on the door. Inside the basement, he blew insulation around the door to prevent drafts. The glossy brown paint had been the finishing touch. I expressed my astonishment and appreciation. Juan said, "That's the way we do things in my country. We don't have money to buy new things, so we recycle the old." As he told me this, Juan radiated satisfaction. The new door was solid and functional and beautiful. The redesign, the creative use of sheet metal, the meticulous craftsmanship, all were entirely his. Juan had rescued the old door from the junk heap. He had saved the church several $1,000s. He had made life easier for the Nicaragua shipment volunteers. He had given generously of his time and talents, and his pride was his reward. On that day, Juan's broad smile was the smile of a man fulfilled in his work. Thank you, Juan. You are a marvel and an inspiration, and all of us will miss your kindness and your dynamic spirit. In our own lives, facing our own challenges, may we take our cue from you. Thank you, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Chuck Nixon. In 2005 or 6, Jim Carson gave me a call. I'm sorry. I'll start all over again. In 2005 or 6, Jim Carson gave me a call and asked if I would be on the property managers. I thought about it, and I decided, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And at the time, I didn't realize the impact of what Juan would have on this church and on Chuck Nixon. As I think back over all these years of working with Juan, he was really a man for all seasons for this church. In every aspect of all the major accomplishments that we were able to achieve in restoring a lot of the church, Juan was there every time. It was for every member of the property managers, he was our go-to guy. If we couldn't be here, he was there. But he was always there, everywhere. He was working on a window. He was doing things that we didn't even think about. He knew every socket, every fire alarm system, etc. And speaking of the fire alarm system, we had a monitoring service. We would get calls on the property managers through a list that we had made up of getting a call when the alarms went off or whatever, and we would come down and meet the fire engines 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And by God, Juan was there all the time. Anything that was happening in the church, he was there. Take, for example, if you look over your shoulder here at the cornerstone, on the 18th of June this year, he was telling me that the sprinkler system had not been turned on or was not turned on, but it needed watering. So for 2 hours, he watered this whole area and the front yard also. It just gives you a little bit of insight on who this man was. The impact on me was something I never thought I would imagine. His work ethic, as somebody described here, and numerous times, is an inspiration. It's an inspiration to all of us to keep in mind of what Christ Church is about.
This was basically his house. He took care of it all the time. I will miss Juan, but I'll never forget who he was. I'd like everybody to think about the impact that Juan has had on this church.
For those of you who have been in the church for a while, you know that Juan had a way with kids. He would always gravitate towards the kids of the church, whether it was the kids who hang out in the atrium or the little ones in the nursery, saying hi to Leo in Genesis, at church mice. And my sister and I were often the only kids in the building, getting here early and leaving late. Not as early and late as Juan, though. So because of that, Juan would gravitate towards us when we were the only kids and would show us all the hiding spots for when we would play sardines or hide and go seek with the youth group. And I'd tell you, if I hid in some of those spots, none of you would be able to find me. He would tell me if the AA meeting left donuts in the fridge, so I would go and eat my fair share of donuts in Juan's company. One story, particularly with Juan, Keith and Elise were also always the kids who would get there early and leave late, so we would always be hanging out together. And we like to explore the basement. Like Dan was saying, it is a mysterious place. And the particular room we were exploring was the room we like to call the meat cellar, which is the brick room at the end where they held a lot of the Nicaragua shipments. We were exploring that room and decided it would be fun to open the window, the small window pane that our bodies could probably not fit in, and try and escape from through the window. I'm not going to tell you which one of the four of us it was, but we decided it would be a good idea to kick the window to see if you can get it open. And the window pane broke. And we didn't want to tell our parents because we would get in trouble. So who did we go to but Juan? And this was Juan's building, so he didn't take it lightly. We felt really bad, but much like Dan's story, he covered it up with cardboard so the rain wouldn't get in. And a couple months went by, and the window was magically fixed. And to this day, we don't know if it was Juan or someone else, but I think it was Juan. And we will miss him very much. The kids of Christ Church will miss him very much, and church won't be the same without him.
Okay, some years ago, when the church enacted stronger security levels, this is you, Chuck Nixon, I think, by avoiding the hundreds of master keys that were floating around amongst us, Juan became the master of the door openers for me. I must have asked him over 100 times for keys to the family promise closet, the food storage cabinet, locked classrooms, tablecloth closet, closet with tools and ladders, on and on. I hounded that man. And often, when he was really busy, which was most of the time, I was still hounding him. But he always put a smile on his face and lent whatever hand he could. That included the time when one of our family promise guests locked themselves out of their bedroom while on a bathroom run, somewhere around 3 a.m. I called Juan at home. Juan, I'm so sorry, but we have a problem. Can you help me? Okay, Rosemarie, I'll be right over, he said. And darned if he didn't come over and unlock that door with a smile on his face for we very sorry souls, even at 3 a.m. Seriously, he was a very special man. His commitment to the church was exemplary. From what I witnessed, his commitment to his family was also very special. He was always so proud of both Rocio and Danny. Clearly, he loved them deeply. And he had a job most of us would not say we would aspire to, but he did this with a strong commitment, with a lot of pride and a lot of excellence. So I hope someone's now opening a door for him that enables him to finally find some well-deserved rest after serving all of us for so many years. And I hope we can partake in opening the door for Rocio and Danny that will take them to a new phase in their lives that is strengthened by the spirit of caring and goodness that he left behind for us.
Two things. One is a really short story. Afterwards, after the service, we would have coffee, and it was his smiling face that I remember. And I love coffee, and I'm so thankful that Juan always prepared our coffee for us. Just that alone is a special memory. The other story is, I think, kind of unique, at least lately. My husband, Bob Gallagher, and I came to this church because we were getting married. And we decided that this church would be the church because our reception was across the street. In fact, that wedding planner suggested, since you don't have a church nearby, why don't you just walk across the street? And we met Chuck and Brenda and everyone, Mark, everyone was so very helpful. And we had a ceremony in the morning and on a Saturday, and Friday we met for the rehearsal, and Juan was there, which was very helpful, kind of surprised me. But all those little details, he knew how to answer questions, and, you know, I'm this anxious bride-to-be, and, you know, help me settle my nerves. And part of the ceremony, I guess it's a little bit unusual, is at the end, we wanted to hear the church bell rings. And so we requested, and Chuck said yes, that afterwards we could walk through the foyer to the other side and ring the cord to ring the bell. And there's a really very precious picture of Juan with myself and my husband and my flower girl. And she wants to ring it. She needs both hands because she's little. And he's holding her flower girl basket so she can handle that cord. And I sent a picture of that to Mark, so there's a way for you to see that if you would like to. And just all those little details about getting ready for a wedding, for someone like me, like every tiny thing was important. And he just had so much patience and very, very helpful. In fact, he was the one who, before I entered the sanctuary during the processional, he's the one that straightened out my train. So just, you know, one event for me and my family, Juan made a huge difference. And I appreciate him so much, and will also miss him. And my heart goes out to you, and just pray that God will comfort you in this deep loss. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul Delaney. Some of the people know I'm here a lot, and some people really know how much time I'm here. I am part of the AA program that's here, and I probably spend 5 hours a day, 7 days a week here. I'm also part of Family Promise. So I do the overnight a lot of times, and it's amazing. I'd be staying overnight. I sleep on the couch when I do the overnight just so I can watch what's going on. And at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd hear the vacuum because he'd be cleaning up, or he'd be wiping things down or whatever, and he'd just look over, "Hi, Paul." I'd say, "Hi, Juan." And he'd go on his business, and everything was fine. And in the morning time, I'm usually here at 5 a.m., and Juan is also here at 5:30, 5:45. And everybody, you know, a lot of stuff is repetition, like Chuck said. But they, you know, Chuck had mentioned, you know, some little stories that happened, and I've been thinking about this. I'm guessing it was 6 months or a year ago. Juan had thrown his back out, and he could barely walk. So I'm the only one in the church with him, and he goes, "You know what happens? Sometimes when I'm home, they can walk across my back." So Juan laid on the floor, and I walked across his back. I'm not that light. So I walked across his back, and I said, if somebody walks in and sees me doing this, they're, you know, I think I'm going to get in trouble. I'm not really sure about this. But we finished. He got up. He moved around, and then he waddled off. But that's what he was. It was one point to another, and he just kept going. And I would help set up chairs and tables sometimes. And I felt like my stride. He always had a couple in there. We would start at different times. He seemed to move faster than me, but we got there at the same time. But he was constantly, he gave me, so much stuff I was able to do. And just helping. I tried to help him as much as possible, just with little things. But he always let me do things, too, while I was here. I go away on vacation, and I'd store my truck here. Don't worry about it. I'll watch over it. I'd leave him the combination to my truck so he can get in if he needed to move it for any reason, and little projects that get done here. Whatever he needed, I try to help as much as I could, because he helped me more than anybody would ever know. That's all I thank you.
My name is Daryl Restrepo. I am Juan's son, and I would like to begin by thanking everyone for coming to honor the legacy of not only my father, but my best friend. I would like to begin by saying that I do not have a story in particular to describe my father because there were so many. I want to thank my father for being the best father possible, the best counselor, the best advisor, and for being my best friend. I wrote a poem to describe the pain that I feel for losing my father. He has only gone on a little ahead to fashion a home for us. There will be curtains blowing and books as there used to be. Pictures, a desk, and tables fair, where friends shall love to come. He has only gone on as a husband and father would to find us a new home. He has only gone on as others have to vanish from our sight. Others whose lives with ours were wed till that mysterious flight. None shall declare his death to us, our loneliness deplore, oh, it is like him to go ahead to open the new door. He has only gone on a little ahead to find me the loveliest place. There will be golden roses there abloom in an azure space, popsies, pansies, and daffodils, and moss I shall love to tread. Oh, Juan, now it is clear to us, you've only gone ahead. Fly high, my father and my best friend. Fly high.
Hi, everybody. I'm Allie Caravano, known to many in this church as Miss Allie, and Leo is my son. I have been working at this church for 13 years, and when I first started working here, I was still in college. I was 21 years old, and Juan, for 13 years, greeted me every Sunday when I got here. And we connected almost immediately because we figured out that Daniel was a student of my mother, and had a very nice relationship with her, and my mom had a relationship with their family. So every Sunday he would ask about my family, and I would ask about his, and we just would chat no matter how busy he was. He never thought twice to pause and talk with me, and never made me feel like I was interrupting him. And then when Leo was born, Leo and Juan became friends, because Leo calls Juan my friend Juan. And every Sunday, if I came without Leo, Juan would say, "Where is my buddy Leo?" So we will definitely miss him. But one story I have a huge fear of rodents, a complete irrational fear of rodents. And one of my earlier years, I was running church mice in Barnwell Hall, sitting on the floor with a bunch of little ones. And one of my little kids, who is now probably in her senior year of high school, said, "Miss Allie, there's a mouse." And she was excited, and I had to keep my wits about me, and it just ran right next to us and then under the closet door. And Juan saw my face, and he goes, don't worry, I will get it. And sure enough, he got his broom and swept the mouse out the door. But that was my big fear. And then another Sunday, I was teaching Matt and Liz piano, and they might not remember this, but I saw something flying around, and it was a bat. So Juan knew my fear of rodents, and now there was a flying one in Lyle Hall. So he just was my protector when it came to the rodents in Christchurch. And that's just a silly story, but it's just, he knew each one of us, every single one of us, so personally, and made it his mission to really have a relationship, a special relationship with each and every one of us. And I see it with all of my church mice and my Genesis kids, and then they go on, and now they're, older than I was when I taught them, and they still have a relationship with Juan for years and years. He is an exceptional human being, and we will really miss him. Did you want to say something? No? No, nothing from Leo, but we will definitely miss him.
My name's Nick Prithviraj. So I'm also in AA, and that's how I met Juan. I've known him for about 3.5 years, and one of the common terms that I've heard referring to him is the Energizer Bunny, because he never stops. He was very kind and always helpful to me. My favorite story about Juan was one day he came in because I get there early in the morning, and he said, I had an issue the other day with another AA member, and I said, okay, what was gone? And he said that they were getting mad at him because he wasn't watering one of the plants properly. They told him that it was dying and that it was going to wither away. He then told them that it was a plastic plant, and he asked if they were the ones that had been putting water in it all these weeks. I'm going to miss Juan. I'm going to miss his humor. And that's all I got. Thanks.
My name is Daniel. I'm a friend of Juan's. Lo siento. Juan had this way of just like letting you do whatever you wanted to do as long as it didn't in any way interfere with what he had in mind. And that's a real gift. What a real gift that is, to be like that. I can remember how many times I would be in the sanctuary meditating, and I would walk in there. First off, when I came down like Springfield Avenue, I'd see Juan's car there. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see Juan somewhere inside the building. And usually you see him like 3 places at once. He's like going in that door, coming out that door. For the longest time, I thought he had a twin brother. And I would go into the sanctuary and sit down in the dark, and he would come in and all of a sudden just like realize that I was there, and then within 2 seconds or milliseconds realize it's okay. And then we just get on doing the next thing he was doing. There was like no judgment whatsoever, which was beautiful. Absolutely no judgment. And one time I came down here, it was like a long weekend. I'm a consultant, so I don't really have track of like days of the week and stuff like that. So I came down, it was Saturday, and I was sitting in the sanctuary meditating, and I knew Juan's footsteps because of his cadence. Like kept my eyes closed, and I heard a key there, I heard a table move over here. I could hear him moving some kind of linen. I heard books moving down to the pews behind me. I heard something being swept up, door open, door closed, switches being flicked. And this all happened. It was like listening to Santa Claus go about his work, just every task being taken care of. And then he was gone as quickly as he came in. And I sat there and I meditated for a little bit longer. And then people started to come into the sanctuary, I thought that was rare, because Saturday they usually don't come into the sanctuary at that time. And I very quickly realized I'd gotten the day wrong. It was actually Sunday. And somebody very nicely asked, would you like to stay for the service? They recognized that they had never seen me before. They said, would you stay for the service? And it was so lovely. I said, yeah, of course. And while I was sitting there and watched the service unfold, beautiful service you have here, and the songs, the music, oh my God. But in that service, to watch everybody just touch something that Juan put right in the right place that was there. It was over here, and it was right there where somebody wanted to reach it. Everything was exactly where somebody could just efficiently grab it without a thought. And to know that that was underneath that whole service was just a real eye-opener to me, how to be of service without judgment. And you can make everybody else's life beautiful.
I think I'm still in a state of shock. And I come here and I expect to see him, as I think many of you do. My name is Maggie, and I joined Christ Church first upstairs over there as a tenant. And everything always was perfect. Whatever we needed, Juan arranged. But I don't think Juan was the only one. And she's still here with us. There was a lot of magic worked in this church by both of you. And it was always perfect. We will certainly miss him and are so grateful for you. I'm happy to meet you, Dan. Didn't know you before. I had a little different relationship with him because I speak some foreign languages, and he did too, and we enjoyed playing around with various foreign languages. What's that word in this language or that language? And we try and come up with a solution. But we always ended our conversations with ci vediamo. And for me, it's ci vediamo, which goes with your story. Ci vediamo, I'm sure.
And, I consider Juan my friend. I've been coming to AA here for over 20 years, and, he used to give me a special permission to park up in front here. I used to park in front of the garage. But I let other people park in the lot because, I don't know, I didn't need to, And if I got here early, I didn't have to. What am I talking about? I wanted to talk about Juan. And, he's really a nice guy, and he was a hustler, man. Like, I used to try and keep up with him, setting up tables, like after the AA meeting, he'd say, Jim, can you help me with the tables and the chairs? And, I was always glad to do that because I got to think of ways to serve. And, I know when I come to the church and I see cigarette butts all over the ground, I get down on my knees and I pick them up. And I think about, what would Jesus do? And, I think he'd like that, just like Juan would and did. And, I didn't like people not wanting to hold my hand after the AA meeting because I had picked up cigarette butts, but they were the ones throwing them on the ground. But sometimes, it's a really shame to lose somebody, but I'm sure he's in a better place, and, he was a nice guy, and I'm glad to meet his family, his children, and I'm glad all you people are here for his life. Thank you.
Hello, I am Michelle Fortier. I'm the director of Cornerstone School. Some of you know me because we've worked together in different committees that I've had to be involved with the church. I felt it really important that someone from the school come here this evening. I've been director of the school for 7 years now, and quite frankly, Juan and his wife are the de facto other staff members of our school. The pride that Juan took in this building, whether it be the part that houses Cornerstone or the part where you all worship, I've never seen it. It was so important to him that we were clean, that we were beautiful, and that we were perfectly repaired. When I first started here at Cornerstone, I enacted many changes. And for Juan, who likes things in routine and likes for where to go, it took us a little while to figure out how to communicate with each other. But over the past several years, there is not a thing that man would not do for our school to make it perfect. And his love was evident even for the children that he didn't know by name up in Cornerstone. Because when I would call him and say, so Juan, they put the doorknob through the wall and there's a hole now, he'd go, take a picture, send it to me so I know exactly where to fix it. And by the next morning, it was fixed. I would say, so Juan, the toilet bowl is overflowing. And no matter where he was here by the end of the day. And I knew he had another job, but it always appeared that we came first, no matter what he was doing. So I just wanted to take a moment on behalf of all of Cornerstone staff to thank you for sharing your husband and your dad with us. He was invaluable to us.
First, I wanted to send regards to Rocio and Danielle on behalf of your former music teacher, Wayne Millett. He sends his condolences, his prayers, and thoughts to you. When I first came to Christ Church as clergy in training in the United Church of Christ, Juan was the first person that I met, and I'm so grateful for his hospitality. One of the highlights coming to Christ Church, other than seeing everybody here at church sermons, is coffee hour. And I could tell you Juan could make a mean cup of coffee. And I used to joke with Juan all the time and told him, why don't you open a shop when you retire and call it Juan's Coffee? And he's like, yes, my friend, yes, I will do that. I will listen to you. And he was just so open and full of life. One scripture, and it's just 2 verses that reminds me of Juan, is from Luke chapter 22, verses 26 through 27. And it says, but not so with you, rather the greatest among you, you must become like the youngest, and the leader like one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? It is not the one at the table, but I among you who serves. The greatest among you, let him be a servant. And that's what Juan was. Juan was truly a servant of God. And one thing that I will leave with his legacy with me whenever I'm called to church, to pastor a church, is to serve. And Juan was the key essential figure and example of service. Such a humble man, such a loving man. And his impact on my life I will carry to serve the people of God. So thank you for sharing your father. Thank you for his legacy. I truly believe that in our Christian faith, St. Peter is the one that opens and welcomes the gates. And I'm pretty sure when St. Peter saw Juan, he bowed down and said, Juan, go ahead, my friend. You are the greeter of among all greeters. So thank you so much for sharing your father. He's truly an inspiration to every single one of us here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dia. I'm a member of Christ Church. I'm also a proud member of AA. So this church has very special meaning to me on many levels. I didn't know Juan very well personally, but I felt like I did. He just had that way about him. He had that warm, welcoming smile. And I just felt very devastated by the news of his death. It just really struck me like it did all of us. And there's a poem, by the way, Daniel, your poem was beautiful. I loved it, so thank you. It was very comforting. There's a poem that I have that has gotten me through some really tough losses of people close to me, and I want to share it because it's beautiful. And I'm thinking of Juan when I'm saying this. Dearest friends and family, some things I'd like to say, but first of all to let you know that I arrived okay. I'm writing this from heaven where I dwell with God above, where there are no more tears or sadness, there is just eternal love. Please do not be unhappy just because I'm out of sight. Remember that I am with you every morning, noon, and night. That day I had to leave when my life on earth was through. God picked me up and hugged me, and he said, I welcome you. It's good to have you back again. You were missed while you were gone. As for your dearest family, they'll be here later on. I need you here so badly as a part of my big plan. There's so much that we have to do to help our mortal man. Then God gave me a list of things he wished for me to do. And foremost on that list of mine is to watch and care for you. And I will be beside you every day and week and year. And when you're sad, I'm standing there to wipe away the tear. And when you lie in bed at night, the day's chores put to flight, God and I are closest to you in the middle of the night. When you think of my life on earth and all those loving years, because you're only human, they are bound to bring you tears. But do not be afraid to cry. It does relieve the pain. Remember, there would be no flowers unless there was some rain. I wish that I could tell you of all that God has planned, but if I were to tell you, you wouldn't understand. But one thing for certain, though my life on earth is over, I am closer to you now than I ever was before. And to my very many friends, trust God knows what is best. I'm still not far away from you. I'm just beyond the crest. There are rocky roads ahead of you and many hills to climb, but together we can do it, taking one day at a time. It was always my philosophy, and I'd like it to be for you too, that as you give unto the world, so the world will give to you. If you can help somebody who is in sorrow or in pain, then you can say to God at night, my day was not in vain. And now I am contented that my life, it was worthwhile, knowing as I passed along the way, I made somebody smile. So if you meet somebody who is down and feeling low, just lend a hand to pick him up as on your way you go. When you are walking down the street as you've got me on your mind, I'm walking in your footsteps, only half a step behind. And when you feel the gentle breeze or wind upon your face, that's me giving you a great big hug or just a soft embrace. And when it's time for you to go from that body to be free, remember you're not going, you are coming here to me. And I will always love you from that land way up above. We'll be in touch again soon. P.S. God sends his love. Thank you.
So, we love Juan. And Rocio and Daniel, we love you, and you're with us right now. For those of us who got to work in the staff in the church here, Juan was in some ways the glue that held us together, because of the fact that he was always here. What everybody said about him, this building is his. We'll never forget. Anyone who lives now is going to always think about Juan, because he's tied to this place. He was a Renaissance man, a man for all seasons, as Chuck Nixen said. Not only we've heard that he's a linguist, I've known him to be a social worker. I've seen him in pastoral counseling. I've seen him as security for the building. He's a caterer, he's a carpenter, he's an electrician. He was a friend, and he did all these things with such joy and always was happy to see you. And as Kirk said, he's like the true meaning of what we try to practice at church, which is being a servant leader. He didn't talk about it, he just did it in his life. And for that, I'm forever thankful. Keith and I were maybe some of the last people at church to see him, because I called him a week ago on Saturday night around 6 o'clock. I had this idea of Juan welcoming us to church on Sunday morning. And when I called him, I said, Juan, what are you doing? And he says, well, I'm just getting in the shower. And I said, do you want to come meet me at the church? And he goes, when? In like 15 minutes? And I was like, well, let's say half hour. And always ready for the next adventure. And he met me, and we went to the church front door, and he came out, and we did a take. And I said, so you're going to welcome people to Christ Church? And he comes out of the door, and he says, welcome, Mark, it's so good to see you. Come. I said, well, let's do another take. Let's try it. We're going to welcome everybody. And we did it a few times, and he, little did I know that this was going to be the last time we get to see him. And it reminded me of how each day is so precious. None of us are given tomorrow.
but we need to love each other today. And so I will always carry with me the way Juan embraced everyone and each day with such preciousness.
First of all, my condolences to you. It takes a special person to be a sexton. By definition, a sexton is somebody who takes care of a church with a lowercase c. At times, they also take care of the church with a capital C. I only had 3 sextons in my life. I grew up as a 3rd-generation Congregationalist for 18 years until I left home in Hong Kong and came to the U.S. for college. There has only been one sexton, Brother Nam. He knew everything. He did everything. He was also the friend of every single kid in the church. When I came to this country, I left the church for 28 years. I went to a New Jersey Chinese church, and for 2 years, the sexton was Brother Ming. Then it was Juan. Just like Juan, I hail from a different culture. In my case, it decidedly not touchy-feely. It was during one, by the way, I'm Alan Cheng. It was during one of the lunch things in Bramwell Hall. I was talking to Juan right next to coffee when Reverend Truck asked for prayers. Juan grabbed my hands. I felt home. I'm finally home. It's not unusual that you go to a church, you hold the other congregant's hands, or you hold the reverend's hand. But to be held hand by the sexton, you know you're home. During another lunch thing at Bramwell, my wife, at my request, responded to the chili. Juan took one taste. I think he had about 1 plastic spoon. By the time he came back, it's all gone. I could see the disappointment in his face. So the following year, I make sure I had a portion saved for him before I let everybody else have their share. So for this occasion, I did ask my wife, but she was too busy. So you will have to put up with my cooking. Okay, I did it Sunday, just for this occasion. Well, okay. And there's home baked bread also. You do have to put it in the oven for half an hour at 350. If you want to have it tonight. So, in honor of Juan.
I'm just going to add one thing. First of all, thanks for sharing, because usually in these situations, everybody looks to the staff to carry the congregation, but it's been hard for us because we're so close. So appreciate being able to be carried by you all through this time. It's been a difficult piece. As you might imagine, the relationship between me and Juan is special. And, you know, we've known each other for 25 years. So after I came to the church, like 3 months later, I hired Rocio. By the way, at the time, we'd had a hard time getting people to stay sober doing this job. So the property managers, who at that time were Wilbur Nelson and Bob York, and how long do you think these people will last? They were thinking 6 months. At any rate, 20-something years later, we're still together. And I'm reminded also, one of my mentors many, many years ago had said to me that one of the most important things that I actually do in my role is hire people. And I said, wow, what are you talking about? And he said to me, well, 90%, if you hire good people, 90% of the problems that could arise never do. And when I think back upon my long life with Juan, that's exactly the way that he had such integrity, and I think that's the one thing I want to close on tonight. As you might imagine, we work just as a collegium. Everybody's kind of got their own sphere, and we respect one another, and things get done, and that's why churches are a little different than other organizations, and it works really well like that. But if Mark and Julie call me at night, I may answer the call, or may not. If Brenda calls me, I'll probably answer the call. But if Juan calls me at 5:30 in the morning, I always answer the call. And I have spent most of my weeks for the past 25 years, beginning and ending it, going over a bunch of problems that have to take place behind the scenes, things that fall through the cracks, and we get stuck with all that stuff. And somehow together, the two of us really make it come. And when you look at the place today, and I'm glad that it is in such great shape. It's taken 20 years to get to this place, but it's a nice moment. It's a testament to everything that Juan put into it. He really did have tremendous integrity. We have a stained glass window that we put in a couple of years ago that goes in the hall, and it was actually dedicated to Emma Ridings, who was one of our wonderful matriarchs from the greatest generation, and it shows her teaching all of these children, and that's what she did in Sunday school. And over the top of it, it has a Bible verse in there, and the family had chosen the text. It said, I think it's from Matthew. It says, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. It's from one of Jesus' parables. Anyway, I think of Juan, and I think like that. He was a tremendous colleague to have, and we had respect. He had respect for me. I had respect for him. And it was a pleasure to share our lives together. I'm sorry it ended abruptly, and we love you guys.
I too just have a short thing to share about Juan. I can still feel his hand on my arm because he would always come up and touch me on the arm to talk to me. But I just want to show you all my keys. This is what my keys look like. It has a Yale Divinity School lanyard on it because I leave these all over the church building. And Juan would always find them for me. He always knew they were mine, and he would find them and he would put them aside for me to pick up later. So I'm just showing them to you because he's no longer here to pick them up for me. And if you happen to see them lying around, you can just let me know. These are mine. Mark was right when he said that Juan kept us together. He kept this place running so smoothly that none of us even knew what he and Rocio did behind the scenes, unless you just happened to hear that he was here until 1:30 in the morning on Christmas Eve, and then back at 4:30 the next day, or at 5 o'clock the next day to start cleaning up. That's the kind of thing that he would do here. And I'm sure we all have I know we all have our stories of Juan, and some of you didn't have a chance to speak tonight, but I hope that you will share your stories with each other and with Rocio and Daniel, who will be appreciative to hear them. Rocio and Daniel, we surround you with our love. We would each give you hugs if we could tonight. but know that we surround you with our love, and let us know if there's anything we can do for you. Now we're going to close in prayer. And Mark, I think at the end of the prayer, just have you sing the Lord's Prayer, and we can kind of hum along with that. All right. Let us pray. Gracious God, we have shared our memories and stories of Juan, for he lives on within us. Although he is no longer alive on this earth, the love we have for him will never die. Help us to carry forward the gifts and graces he inspired in us. God of us all, your love never ends. When all else fails, you still are God. We pray to you for one another in our need. We pray especially for Rocio and Daniel, and for all anywhere who mourn with us this day. To those who doubt, give light. To those who are weak, strength. To all who have sinned, mercy. To all who sorrow, your peace. Keep true in us the love with which we hold one another. In all our ways, we trust you. And now hear the prayer that we have been taught.
Seems weird that we can't hold hands right now, but go from this place, and may peace be with you, and may peace rest upon your homes and with your families. Amen.